Welcome to Business Builders. I'm Chris Clark, President and CEO of the Queen Creek Chamber of Commerce. Today, we're joined by Matthew Harrison of Harrison Law. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm glad I'm able to shed some light on these recent developments with the FinCEN and other registrations.
Right. Today, we're going to be talking about that very thing, about the Corporate Transparency Act. And Matt, why don't we just get right into it? What can you tell me about that Corporate Transparency Act?
Well, big picture is that back a few years ago, Congress passed and the president signed a bill involving the National Defense Authorization Act, which instructed the Secretary of the Treasury to come up with some system to register companies, with the goal being that they were concerned about the fact that a lot of times shell companies and companies by foreign entities and criminal enterprises could hide themselves through a corporate kind of system of shell companies. And so that started back and then, and so the last few years, the Secretary of Treasury has been trying to figure out how to register. And starting on January 1st of this year, companies now have to start registering through the Secretary of Treasury's website that they've developed. This is often referred to as the Corporate Transparency Act, or CTA, and it was designed to basically, the goal is to allow corporations to kind of show who they are so the government knows who they are for future purposes.
And so, in the act, there seems to be two classes of businesses based on data formation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's mainly two classes of businesses that are designed for this corporate well, they're evaluated by the Corporate Transparency Act. The first primary one are those who are required to register and those who are not required to register. I would say that the overwhelming majority of businesses will be required to register. And the exceptions to that rule are some distinctive businesses that realistically the reason why they don't need to register is because they already are known to the government through the IRS or Treasury or the Securities and Exchange Commission. So those companies that don't need to register are such things as financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, charitable organizations, large companies with over $25 million in assets and multiple employees. Those don't need to register, but realistically, that's only a small percentage of the individuals and entities that need to register. The overwhelming majority fit into that first category, is that they have to register. So that includes any companies like either an Inc. or an LLC that isn't under one of the exceptions. It also includes individuals who are what are referred to as sole proprietorships, which means they're doing their business as a DBA. So they don't even have a corporate structure, but under certain circumstances, they're required to still register. And so, especially in the business environment, say of Queen Creek and the Arizona, that will bring in a lot of businesses required to register, which means most, if not the majority of LLCs created, limited liability companies. That's going to be probably the largest volume of registrants or limited liability companies that are throughout the United States and throughout Arizona.
So, in most cases, people tend to think, well, my business is too small. They're not talking about me. But that's exactly who we're talking about, right? So, in this
Yeah.
case, unless you're a huge, probably multinational kind of corporation, then you're exactly the business that needs to register.
Yes, I would say when it comes to your perspective on, well, I'm just a small business person, I don't need to register. In fact, those are the ones that need to register. And that includes such items, and we'll often will see it as maybe a individual or a married couple might have an LLC for their business, their personal business. They might have LLCs or LLCs if they do rental properties. And those kind of small mini businesses are all encompassed by that act. And then the mid-sized businesses that around the Arizona area also are part of that act as well, because most are not already registered through other sources. And so the companies that are successful and even kind of beyond mom and pop shops or just a rental property situation will have to register for that. So it includes that. And again, the sole proprietorship might just be one person who's, Jane Smith, DBA, Flower Creations, or whatever, they're trying to do. They also, if they're registered with the Arizona Secretary of State, which candidly they all should be anyway by Arizona law, they need to register under the Corporate Transparency Act as well.
And there's two dates that seem to be really important, and they have to do with when the company was formed. So can
Yeah.
you tell us about that?
Well, since all companies need to register, you have to figure out that they estimate there's over 40 million companies that need to register. And so they divided it up into two different categories. The first category being those companies created before January 1st of this year. So everything from December 31st backward, and it could be decades backward. And then those companies who were organized or changed their corporate structure after January 1st of this year. For the older companies, those have been around for a while and with, it might be months or days or years before January 1st, you will need to register that company through what's referred to as the FinCEN, which is the entity that registers the companies under the CTA, sometime within this calendar year. They've essentially given a grace period for older companies to register and individuals if they're sole proprietors. And so you have about a year there. The second category, which are the brand new companies, and also those companies that are just made a corporate change, which you can kind of figure out is if you change your corporate structure, like add new members to your LLC, change that membership structure of some item through an article of amendment, then they're giving you a grace period. And this is where they're kind of giving more of a grace period. Before it was 30 days after you have filed and received approval. Now it's at currently 90 days. And that's just because of the volume of registrations that they have. They kind of bumped that deadline a little bit because of that situation. I anticipate that it'll go back to 30 days sometime this year, but that's the grace period that's currently in April, what they're utilizing.
So newly formed or just changed in some kind of major way, you have 90 days to get it done. So um, June 1, then until basically September. Um, but if you're an established company since before January 1st of 2024, then you have this year to get it done. So before New Year's Eve, you got to have completed the process, right?
Yes,
And then
that's
and then like we talked about, that's every business, essentially. Um, if you're
yeah.
listening to this, then it's pretty much your business.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say for 95% of businesses that you typically see in Arizona qualify for the registration.
and in order to register, what do you have to do?
Well, what they're doing is the Secretary of the Treasury has developed a registration system through FinCEN, which is the Financial Central Database for the Treasury Department. And basically, you need to register through FinCEN your corporate structure information. And realistically, even though I am an attorney, this is what I do. This is one of the cases where theoretically you can do it on your own, but I'd advise against it because it is a very uh, complicated system somewhat, and also easy to misinterpret some of the items that are there. But what needs to happen is three main things. Is number one, you're registering the corporation itself. So say you have an LLC and you have the LLC for your business, or you have like a rental property or properties, you're registering the corporate information for that. So the name, the principal place of business, items such as that. You're also registering what's referred to as the individuals who have some kind of corporate authority or governance over that company. So for an LLC, that would be the members. So if there's a mom and pop situation and both are members of the LLC, we're registered, both are having to be registered. So we're giving John Doe and Jane Doe's certain information to the government. And then also the third step is that for especially new companies, we're also designating, and these are the companies created or changed after January 1st of this year. You also have to register, well, who's doing the registration as well. And so as an attorney and others, we would provide information as part of the FinCEN registration saying that we did this for this company. And we're giving information as well when it comes to that. And for the members of a company that doesn't involve membership, like in an LLC, say if it involves shares or items such as that, instead of registering all the shareholders, you'd be registering the principal authority of the company, which in this case might be the president or CEO or whoever is executive in charge of the company itself. So we're registering those three areas: the company itself, the people who have authority, and those who are members, and then also whoever's registering for you is also providing information as well.
Sounds like a lot. So
Yeah.
if a person were going on and doing this themselves, how long do you think it might take them?
Well, actually, what the FinCEN is doing is it's timing how long it's taking people to do this. And again, it's a new system, so their hope is that they'll kind of iron out the kinks in it a little bit. But I would say that the average time is anywhere from a simple, and when I mean a simple corporate registration, it's like an LLC, maybe one or two members, maybe a husband, wife, or an individual. And items such as that, they're taking upwards to 4 to 8 hours to do all the registration. They're just trying to go through the system and network and figure it out. Plus, you're uploading information about the members, which include such things as a driver's license or a passport picture or something like that. But it is taking several hours to do that. For the more complicated companies, it could take up to 6 plus hours to do the complicated companies. Again, I think those numbers will go down a little bit because people are trying to figure it out. But that again is one of the reasons we're encouraging our clients and encouraging people that need to register. It's best to go to a law firm who's doing it on a regular basis, knows what's needed, and is also registered as somebody who can register companies and can do that step three. That way it helps solve and speeds up the process. And then it's money well worth it that we can do it faster, more efficient. It's less expensive than as we charge people than spending a good portion of a day, if not longer, trying to figure it out.
And what happens if somebody doesn't register? They just don't get around to it.
Yeah, this is one of those issues where always say you don't want you need the permission, not the forgiveness. You don't want to wait around and see what the government will do. Basically, there's a pretty good stick, with the carrot to you got a grace period of a year for most established companies. The stick is if you don't register, is that basically they can pursue you. It's actually a potential criminal matter. But realistically, the biggest stick is the fines. They can fine you up to $500 a day. They can fine you amounts in the amount of $10,000 when it comes to these corporate registrations. So all of a sudden, and that can also pile up over time. It's not like a one time and they fine you and you need to then correct. And if you don't, you're going to get hit again. And again, they can actually do it per day. And so that way you can accumulate several $1,000s worth of fines within a short period of time. Far more expensive than it would be to register. That's their stick to get you to go ahead and do it quickly, is that. Now, technically, it's also a criminal matter. But however, and so they could technically, sentence you to probation or jail if you're, but my gut impression is that those kind of huge situations would be for the habitual offenders or big time issues that incur or something along those lines. But still, it's something I'm telling everyone that they could face jail time, they could face other problems, they could get a criminal history or record. But irregardless if the government actually pursues it that far, you're still looking at giving them a lot of money to ask for forgiveness, which we want people to avoid as well and companies to avoid.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a bit. So um, it applies to just about everybody. It has to be done before the end of the year, and um, it's pretty serious if you miss the deadline. Those would be our key takeaways.
Yeah, and just it's something where we have this year to get this done. So I'm always telling people that there's plenty of time right now to do it. And in fact, for our advice to our clients and items such as that are pre-existing companies, is that we've held off a few months before we've started to register so that they can kind of iron out the kinks in the system. But once you don't want to wait till December, you'll want to get it done within I would say we're starting to register people in May is our goal for our pre-existing people who and clients and companies that want us to. But yeah, you don't want to wait till after, during the holiday season in December in order to get registered in a timely fashion.
And so um, you have quite a bit of information on your website about this. Where do people find you?
They can find information about the website. It's harrisonlawaz.com. That's the name of the website. We have a blog section and we give monthly article. Actually, it's two articles on business subjects every month, and actually four articles total, because we do two other articles on non-business subjects too. And so there are a couple articles online right now about this, and you can just use the keywords FinCEN or Corporate Transparency Act, and those articles will come up. Also, we send out a monthly email on business matters to our clients and other individuals. So you can certainly also go onto our website and register to receive our monthly emails as well. And we've spent a couple of our most recent monthly emails on the business issues talking about the Corporate Transparency Act. So that will give you a little bit of information, and you can certainly contact our office as well, and we're based out here in the Southeast Valley, and we can certainly have one of my staff members or myself answer your questions concerning that too, and us being able to potentially assist you.
So I think one of the things you have on there is a checklist, but so people could go there and then find the FinCEN website and see about taking a day to do that, um, or contacting a business attorney such as yourself who could smooth the process for them, and I assume help them with any issues that might come up down the road.
Yeah.
Um, but they would just contact your office if they were going to be working with you, and you would get them the checklist of everything to get together.
Yeah, that's the purpose of what we're going to do is that if it's something that you would want a law firm such as my firm to do, is that we would start an attorney-client relationship, but afterwards we do have some links and online checklists that we then would supply to the client. They'd fill out the information that we have and need to go forward with it. And that gives us the information. There's going to be a place where you're going to upload some information as well. And that should give us the sufficient information and documentation we need to register you. And to let you know, one of the concerns is that part of the requirements is that we need to have identifying documents like a driver's license or passport. And so just to let people know, part of what we're doing as well is we have a secure server and network with redundancies. So when we get that information, it's not like it's part of the public record, and it's not like it's accessible to anybody. It's held in the firm and is secured by, I think the last count was 7 different layers. And so that's just something as well we're telling individuals because of concern, since we will have to receive copies of a driver's license or a passport.
Yeah, concentrating all that information together. So it's really important that it be secure. Um, and so, again, contacting a business attorney, right? So not just, any attorney is going to be able to do this.
Yeah, always it's best to go with somebody or a firm that this is what they're doing on a regular basis, and not just because attorneys can say they can do the work, but it's not their focus of the practice or the firm. Our firm, this is what we do. We represent businesses and those who own and operate businesses. And so this is not something you want to trust by someone who's just going to do a one and done, and then they won't do it again for the next, several months or a year. You'll want to talk to an attorney in a firm that does on a regular basis. And for example, with my firm and situation, office staff so far have participated in 3 different continuing legal education classes. And I've also taken and reviewed the documents provided by the Treasury Department as well. So it's something that you want to be well versed in. We're keeping up to speed on it. We get a regular email on what's happening most recently with FinCEN and the registration. And so that allows us to do it fast, efficient, and it's not like someone's just guessing what to do, which we certainly want to advise.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, those who know me know that I hate paperwork, and the worst kind of paperwork is government paperwork. So, we appreciate you shedding some light on that for us, Matthew, and um, we appreciate the work over there at Harrison Law. So, anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to cover?
Uh, just to highlight again, I mean, it's kind of like certain things in life, going to the dentist and getting a checkup and getting your oil changed in your car. This is one of those necessities that you have to do at least this year. And if you change your corporate structure in the future, and again, I'll emphasize this is not one where we want to go through the forgiveness process. We want it done, so you got the permission, and we're that's the main item like that. So you don't want to hide under a rock, and then come January, after January 1st of 2025, I assume people are going to start receiving a nasty letter from the Department of Treasury, and it'll have some zeros attached to it as well. So we want to avoid that. So best to get it done. We got this year to do it, and there's a system in place to do it. So I think that we should be able to register these without any issue.
Well, we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, Matthew, and people, I'm sure, will put on the screen how they can reach out and get more information as well. So, thank
Yeah.
you again.
Yeah, and thanks again for giving me this opportunity. And certainly they can contact my office and talk to my staff if they have any additional questions or needs.